One of the most compelling but ultimately overlooked stories of the 2018 season, the Eagles finding the gas pedal after Carson Wentz was out for the year with a back injury. Nick Foles comes in. They get to the postseason. They knock off the Bears, and they gave the Saints everything they could handle in the divisional round. They were up 14-0, driving late, down 20-14. The opportunity to go ahead is lost when Alshon Jeffrey drops that ball. It's picked off, and that's it for the Eagles. It ends their season. What if Wednesday, Chris? What if that ball is not intercepted? What if that drive continues? First of all, how does the game end? Second of all, how does the season end? And third of all, who's the quarterback of the Eagles right now?
Yeah.
A lot of different layers to this one.
Well, I want to ask you here, okay, so we're going to play What If Wednesday. I mean, come on, we're not going to say they lost the game if they want, if Alshon Jeffrey caught the ball.
It's not nearly as much fun if on the next play there's an interception.
Next play, they missed the touchdown and it was all over. So what if? Who cares? No. So yeah, of course, for the sake of this purpose, yeah, the Eagles win this football game, and then go back to the Rams, go out to L.A. Mike, right? A place where they went just a few weeks before that and beat the Rams on Sunday Night Football. So that would have been a scary matchup for the Los Angeles Rams. And yeah, I'm not so sure the Eagles don't go out there and pull that game out once again and end up back in the Super Bowl with a rematch of New England and Philadelphia. And I'm not so sure Philadelphia really doesn't match up, and not to say the Rams didn't match up with the New England Patriots, but I think Philadelphia would have been more of a pain in the butt for the New England Patriots to play and deal with than the Los Angeles Rams ultimately were, just because they were a little bit more basic in their game planning, and this is what we do, and here it is, and try to stop it, and the Eagles aren't that way.
I do think the Eagles would have had a good chance to get to the Super Bowl. I don't believe they would have won it. It would have been amazing to have both teams back the following year.
Yeah.
And to put the Patriots in the position where they quite possibly would have lost 2 Super Bowls in a row to the same team. That would have been something. But I just think, regardless of what happens in the NFC Championship game, because it wouldn't have been easy for the Eagles to go back to L.A. and beat the Rams after beating them in December.
Right.
But just getting there, I think at that point, you have a much more difficult decision to make on whether or not you keep Nick Foles. And I think the Eagles had to keep one quarterback and move on from the other. I don't think keeping both would have made sense. I think there would have been too many issues in the locker room. But I think the lift that Foles would have gotten from the locker room if he wins that game in New Orleans, takes down the number 1 seed in the conference, that is the kind of lift that carries him into the starting job, and I think compels the Eagles at that point to take what they can get for Carson Wentz and move on. I mean, I think it should have been a closer question than it was anyway. I think if they win that game, it's not a question. Foles is your guy, and Carson Wentz gets traded to the highest bidder.
Yeah, I hear you. I thought about it too. What is that line of demarcation to go, ooh, this would have made the Eagles ownership and front office people huddle up and go, okay, it's time for plan B. We gotta figure out Carson Wentz is out of here. We're keeping Nick Foles. I would have said they have to get back to the Super Bowl. You're saying NFC Championship game. My original thought was the Eagles get back to the Super Bowl and the game is at least competitive. I don't even say they got to win, but if it's competitive, yeah, I think I'm with you there. I think they're going to have a hard time saying, no, Nick Foles is not our starting quarterback. I think we would have had riots in the street in Philadelphia if that were the case. So, I'm with you along the same lines of thinking there. I guess I just think it would have took one more win to get there.
And just think if they had won the Super Bowl for the second straight year, there's absolutely no way you can let Nick Foles go.
Right.
And I don't know that you can keep both guys around, because anytime that question of Foles comes up, I think most people think, okay, you pay the $25 million under the franchise tag and you keep him around for another year because Carson Wentz is making far less than that, so you can make it work for one more year.
Right.
But what's your point to make it work for one more year? At some point, you have to choose a guy, and your backup is a 2-time Super Bowl winner and possibly 2-time Super Bowl MVP, and he's number 2, and you're paying him $25 million a year. I think they had to choose one or the other. They ultimately did choose Carson Wentz. But that's an interesting question. Where between beating the Saints and winning the Super Bowl do you flip the switch and go with Foles? I think beating the Saints would have been enough for me. But, and frankly, I think playing the Saints as close as you did should have been enough. I just think there's a point where you set aside X's and O's and you say, as we said throughout January, Wentz is the better quarterback, but the Eagles are the better team when Foles is playing. And I think they're still holding out hope that they can take whatever it is that Foles did and get Wentz to be that same guy and combine his skills with whatever it is, whatever that magic is that allowed the team to be better under Foles.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, and I think what gives them the confidence to make that type of decision and go, no, we'll go with Carson Wentz here is they've seen that a little bit. You know, the year they did win the Super Bowl, the way they started that season, the first 14 weeks of the year, I think they saw enough there where they said, ooh, this was a special year. Carson Wentz was special, you know, could have been the MVP. You know, and to another thing, I'll tell you this is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine at times because this goes on a little too much to me in the NFL, and you kind of brought it up where, you know, too many times when the backups come in, coaches refocus and figure out a game plan that works for the team. Oh, we got to help out the backup. You know, he's not as good, so we got to finagle more plays to figure it out to make it work. And I know I had this happen in my career. I got hurt with the spleen, right? And we weren't playing very good on offense, and we were kind of doing the same things we had done the year before in our playoff run. I got hurt. I came back to meetings, you know, 10, 12 days later, and I went, damn, what the hell are all these plays? Where did all these plays come from? Why weren't these plays in the damn playbook when I was in the game? I don't understand that. And that, to me, it goes on throughout the NFL. And, you know, I guess I'm ranting about something that I just wish teams would help their starters, guys like in Carson Wentz's situation at times, and not always curtail to the lesser talent that way.
You know, there is more angle to this what if that we need to consider because if the Eagles had decided to keep Nick Foles and trade Carson Wentz, it's entirely possible that very memorable Doug Marrone press conference when he says Nick who would have been Carson who, because look at John DeFilippo, offensive coordinator in Jacksonville. If Foles isn't in play, then Carson Wentz becomes the next quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Think of how we would be regarding the Jaguars right now if Wentz was the quarterback. And, you know, as I put down my Nick Foles pom-poms, I think about Carson Wentz as the Jaguars quarterback, and I feel a little more strongly about the Jaguars than I do with Nick Foles as the quarterback.
Yeah, well, you know, I think in your heart of hearts, we love what Nick Foles does. We like his play. We know he brings a certain, you know, air of confidence and calmness to a football team that we know he can deliver in the clutch. But I think in your heart of hearts and what you've seen with your eye on TV, that you've seen Carson Wentz at his best and went, ooh, that was pretty special. So it can get you excited, and I'm sure that's why Philadelphia drafted him at number 2 and has kept him there. Big question is, Mike, what would it have taken to make a trade happen with the Eagles? Because they didn't have to act desperate in this situation if they decided, hey, Foles is our starter and Carson Wentz is the backup here, because they're not paying him a ton of money.
I think that it would have taken the Jaguars' first-round pick.
Probably, right?
And maybe a little bit more, but at a minimum, that 7th overall pick to get Carson Wentz. And you know what? Let me just clarify one thing.
Yeah.
Because my concern, when I think of the Jaguars and Wentz versus the Jaguars and Foles, the reason I'm more excited about Wentz on the Jaguars is I'm not sure that what Foles did in Philadelphia is immediately and automatically transferable to another team.
I hear
I'm
you.
hoping it is.
Right.
Wentz is Wentz no matter where you put him. We've seen Foles with other teams, and it wasn't good.
Yes.
Will Foles' magic, whatever it is that brought that team together, will it work in Jacksonville? I don't know. And again, I hope it does. But that's why I'm hesitant about Foles versus Wentz. And it made me think, wait a minute, I've just painted myself into my own corner. I still think the Eagles better team with Foles. Jaguars, we'll find out. But definitely would have been better with Wentz because Wentz is going to be great no matter who Wentz plays for.
Yeah.
I think I've unpainted myself out of that corner.
You did. No, I know what you're saying. You're trying to say, you know, Wentz is really talented, and you can put him in about any system, and he can make it work because of his athleticism, his strength, his running, you know, throwing on the run. Foles, even though we know we can make it work, has to have a certain system or formula around him to really bring out the best of Nick Foles. I mean, he's got great size. He's a really good, you know, rhythmic thrower of the football. He's not an overpowering thrower, but gosh, he's got great anticipation. He's fearless in the pocket, and that's what you love about Nick Foles. And I do think that the Jacksonville Jaguars can kind of, you know, emulate the formula that the Philadelphia Eagles had anyways. I really do. I mean, I think with Doug Marrone, you know, as the head coach, they're going to continue to run the football and be that way, and John DeFilippo is going to bring the RPO packages and some of the play action passes that Nick Foles Foles has been comfortable with, to where, yeah, I think this could be similar aspect or similar style of football from the Jacksonville Jaguars that we saw with Nick Foles and the Eagles.
And one last thing, if the NFC Championship game is Eagles-Rams, that means it's not Rams-Saints. That means that the story of the offseason, fixing pass interference, fixing replay, and everything that goes along with it, quite possibly doesn't happen. So
yeah, I'll tell you the other thing I thought about is Brandon Brooks, the really good guard for the Philadelphia Eagles. Remember, he tore his Achilles tendon during that Saints game. That would make me worry when you got to go to L.A. the next week if they did have to play Aaron Donald and Sue, who was kind of hitting his stride finally there at that point of the year. Yeah, that would have concerned me a little bit in that matchup.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.